All right. It says we're live, so we're live. We're live. All right. Man, it's been forever since I've hosted one of these things. I feel so weird hosting it. I don't know how to do the intro. Like, what's up, everybody? It's Omnibros Live. Ryley here hosting. It's your boy Ryley hosting the show tonight with with the main man Omar.
This
What's
sounded
going
so
on,
natural. Not at all scripted. Not a lot, man. Glad it's been a while since we've done a show together. Like I want to say a couple of months at least. I mean just you and I, rather.
Yeah, yeah.
Not you, I, and Jess. Apparently we are the C-list Omnibros. Is that what we're being called right now? Or D-list?
Dang.
D-list.
I've been
How?
demoted.
Yeah. D-list Omnibros.
Who's the A-list? Jess is the only A-list?
Jess is the only A-list.
Is this by like how many times we each appear on the show?
Maybe. I want to say yes, but I could be wrong. I don't want to know the real answer.
I'm probably D-list because D stands for dick.
Hey, there we go. And speaking of, nope, not gonna go there. Never mind. Oh yes, we do have an official sponsor.
Yeah, so of course, sponsor. We need to talk about that. I know Jess usually does his commercial voice, so he's
Jess as sounds like it's pre-recorded. He's amazing at it.
But of course, our loving and generous sponsor, In Stock Trades. We love them very much. We order from them as often as we can, maybe too often in my case. And they, of course, provide us with the greatest discounts on fantastic new books, up to 50% off on your brand new books. Fantastic, indestructible shipping. What else does Jess like to go over?
The discounts, like the high discounts that they have at 42, 45 to 50% off, usually the first week when these Omnis come out. So it's great. I think between the both of us, we could do a good ad. There is that nice little come on back and shop with us extra 2% that you get for an additional week, and it gets you right because you're like, man, I really don't want anything this week, but I feel like I'm wasting money if I don't use my extra 2%. So they get you that way, and it's good. I like it
because keep rolling it on, because then you're like, but I want something next week. So if I order at least $50 worth of stuff to get that free shipping at $50, then it will boost me into next week saving that 2%. Especially if it's like the first week of the month, and you're like, that'll save me like $10.
I know I'm not the only one that looks that far ahead, where I'm like, okay, 3 weeks from now, it's going to be this huge fucking order. I need my extra 2% off by then, so I need to order like 2 weeks from now. Oh crap, but there's a book here. Yeah, so.
And then of course, I'm pretty sure this is coming soon, but we have the quarterly Omnibroslive discount where they do a 4%, which everyone just goes insane about. So that should be pretty soon now, unless they did it while I was sleeping. And
nope, that should be soon. Yep.
Everyone go out and alert the masses and buy all of your books for a little bit cheaper that week.
Yes. Okay, so we both saw ANTMAN and Wasp, not together, and at different times, different time zones perhaps. So you wanted to talk about that. I know. I think Gabe wanted to talk about it a little bit on Monday. I think he was kind of in the middle with it.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get into details about it.
So
why don't you start the spoiler-free version of this, and then we can talk about specifics in the movie that we both liked.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting video, to say the least, because there's not that much difference in our opinions. I think you're a little bit more to the extreme than I am in my opinion of it, but it's going to be kind of one-sided. There's not going to be the other side of the argument for this movie. So that's kind of going to make this a little different than let's say
our last Jedi review.
Yeah, I think that was one where we were kind of
I didn't really like it. Jess was sort of in the middle, and I think you liked it. think that's where we were. So, and that's cool. That's it. But yeah, you're right. Right now, I think we're just gonna end up beating each other off with like. So this is what I thought. But yeah, anyway, go ahead, man.
So, Ant-Man and Wasp sequel to obviously Ant-Man. I believe it still has the same director. Peyton Reed comes back to direct this movie. Same primary cast. Scott Lang played by Paul Rudd. I love Paul Rudd personally. He's always got that kind of goofy, dry humor to him that I enjoy.
Hey, the chat is saying there's a couple of people in the chat saying your voice is a little low, but I think they can still hear you. Is everybody hearing Ryley okay?
Do I need to talk higher?
You need to get closer to the camera.
I don't know if that's any better. I'll just project a little bit better.
I was kidding. That's the kind of shit I used to fuck with people about. You get extreme close to the camera. Now, I don't know.
So anyway, same primary cast. You know, Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, and then joining the of course Michael Pena as Luis, the kind of comedic relief in a comedy movie. So that's kind of a weird statement. They are joined by Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne, and who else? Walton Goggins as, I don't remember the character's name, and I also don't remember the actress, but you also have Ghost in there, and then of course Morpheus himself. Lawrence Fishburne comes in playing Bill Foster, aka Goliath. So a pretty decent ensemble cast with a lot of actors that I'm pretty fond of. So without any spoilers, you know, the movie, obviously the main plot here was rescue Janet from the quantum zone. And they tease that at the end of the first movie, you know, he went into the quantum zone, yada, yada, yada. And now they're saying, like, oh, well, we can get her back out, we think. And that's the whole point of the movie, was trying to rescue her. So without spoiling anything about it, I feel like this movie was at the best decent, but mostly it just seemed like a string of useless events, one after another, keeping the gang from getting to their ultimate goal. So that was kind of my general feeling of the movie. Just, you know, every time something happened and they got closer to being able to do what they wanted to do, something else got in the way, and it wasn't very organic seeming. To me, it just seemed like it's like the writers and director are just sitting there like, we need to make this plot, rescue Janet, into a 2-hour movie. How are we going to pad this out? And it was just Ant-Man and Wasp and padding out a plot line, the movie, for 2 hours. So that's my basic opinion on the movie. I don't know what else I could share that's not spoilery. If you wanted to go ahead and say a few things.
Yes, I do. So to add on that, I remember watching it like halfway through the movie, and I was like, man, this is the most. I turned to my wife and I'm like, I feel like I'm watching the most simplistic Marvel comic book movie I've ever seen. And I don't know why that was. Like, not that a plot needs to be complex for me in order to enjoy it, but. And then about 3/4 of the movie, I was watching it with my brother too, and I'm like, I feel like I'm watching one of those HBO made for HBO movies in the '90s, not the good kind, that were, or one like a movie like One Fine Day that I would just catch and put in the background in the movie while I was cooking or something. I don't know. I didn't see a point to this movie. Maybe that was my issue with it. I didn't think it needed to exist in order to get where, if I'm assuming if people have seen Infinity War, to get to where we know it was going.
Yeah.
They could have done like a 5-minute Saturday Night Live skit, and I would have been fine with that.
Or one of those like those one-shot things that they add on the Blu-rays.
Yes, something like that.
Or even like I don't know how, but I mean honestly, the actual meat of the story, the meat of the plot, could have been condensed, in my opinion, to about 30 minutes. And that's all you really need to tell what they were trying to tell, as far as, you know, the rescue and going to the quantum zone, coming back, and all that jazz. That can happen in about 30 minutes. And that's it. That's all you really need. But
like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one, but at least the first one had elements that were kind of unique to its movies. Like, um, but this one, it was just so bland. There was nothing, and I feel like they had a good formula too. I mean, they had Michael Douglas, they had Michelle Pfeiffer, and Paul Rudd is just genuinely charming. You know, at least, I mean, some people find him extremely annoying, and then some people find him just funny and charming with everything he does. I'm kind of in the middle. And then you had the, you know, of course, Evangeline Lilly, and there was maybe not enough of a team up for me to warrant the name Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah.
There was like less and less and more talking, and like you said, getting from point A to B, and with all these little mishaps, like a Disney cartoon, like a Pluto spinoff. I didn't see the point in this movie. But apparently I'm kind of alone, because it's like we're kind of like, it is like the #1 movie right now.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if that's because nothing else is out, but
sales are one thing, but
yeah, of
I know
course.
it's gotten decent reviews, but, and I'll say that a lot of the people that I've talked to have said that they've really liked it. And of course, there's probably the people out there who are like, "Oh my god, this is the best Marvel movie," but that, I don't understand how you can think.
The best Marvel movie? I don't think I've heard that at all. Like,
I'm sure I have. But I did actually really like the first one, and my wife really, really liked the first one too. And I found out later it's because she didn't know this, but she really likes heist movies, because she was like, "Oh man, I loved Ant-Man," and then we were watching like Ocean's 11, and she's like, "I love all these movies." And then we watched what was the other one by the same director that came out recently, Logan Lucky, and she was like, "Man, I love that." And I was like, "You just really like heist movies."
Heist movies, okay.
So she really liked it, and I really liked it too. I thought it was funny. I thought, you know, it was fun. A different, you know, lesser character, so to say, getting his own little film. And then in this one, it was, you know, I guess like you said, there just wasn't enough team up between the two of them to warrant calling it Ant-Man and Wasp. There was never, you know, it was like Ant-Man and also maybe kind of Wasp.
Yeah, and I totally mean that as in both sets of Ant-Man and Wasp, not just Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly.
Right.
There just wasn't enough, and I feel like they totally missed a chance with. They could have been a lot more creative with this movie, and they could have had a lot more fun. But I feel like maybe it was. I don't know. I don't want to say it was rushed, because this movie had been planned since the first one came out.
Right.
I'm sure some of the plot had to be tweaked to, you know, make sure that it ties into all the other crap that's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, I really didn't enjoy it. There were aspects of it that I can't talk about until we get into the spoilers part that just kind of annoyed the piss out of me. And I don't know. I guess
I'll say I also feel like there wasn't really a villain. Like
they had a good chance to have a good villain too, because when Ghost first appeared, I really like how almost out of it and crazy she was when she was talking to him. You know, I mean, this isn't a big spoiler or anything. When she like kidnaps him, and she's like, "No, I'm not gonna hurt you," and things like that. Just I thought she was fucking with him, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, she's pretty interesting." And then no, they totally. I don't know if they forgot how to write her character or if they just decided to disregard that part.
I felt like when we first saw her in like one of the earlier scenes, the first time she appears, I just felt she was really clunky, like in her movement and stuff. And I don't know if maybe that's me kind of being biased because I'm comparing her to Ghost in the comics, Ghost in the comics, he's pretty much always intangible. He floats, like he's fluid.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, I didn't watch many trailers for this, so I didn't really see what they were doing with the character. But the character in the movie is complete departure from the character in the comics, and I'm not against that kind of thing. I'm not the kind of guy who's like, oh, if it's not exactly like the comics, then it's trash. But I guess like my own idea of who the character is kind of affected me in viewing her on the film. But I don't think that it's my bias for the original version of the character when I say she was really clunky in her movements, the way the suit was, like the way she fights. It was just really just, I don't know, it didn't look great. And everything kind of looked a little bit underproduced. Like maybe that ties into what you were saying about it being a made for HBO movie, is how you felt. It all felt underproduced. Like watching a higher budget telenovela or something. Like, I don't know. It was all very, it's like there was a layer of production missing, and it just didn't feel finished. I don't know. It was weird. It's hard to explain, but it was just a feeling that I had throughout watching the movie.
I kind of liked the way that she looked, the way that she moved. I didn't have a problem with that. Maybe you're right though. Maybe they blew their wad on the quantum realm scenes. I don't know. I didn't. There was less action in it than I was kind of expecting or come to expect from a Marvel movie. I'm in no means saying it's as bad as Thor 2. Like I even came out of the theater going, well, at least it wasn't Thor 2 or Iron Man 2. You know?
Yeah.
Um.
I would say, like, for me, if I was to rank it with the others, I would also say probably above Thor 2 and Iron Man 2, though I haven't seen those since they were in theaters, so I'd have to rewatch to kind of
Oh,
really
okay.
tell.
I did a marathon of those two and then Iron Man 3 when I was sick a couple of months ago. So
Okay.
kind of still fresh. Yeah. Thor 2 was just horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like since they were in theaters, I've only seen each of those, I think, once.
And I know the movies that they enjoyed. I haven't checked the chat yet because I'm sure everybody has their own idea as to what the worst Marvel movie is. And I'm just saying, comparing it to Marvel movies, I'm not gonna compare it to DC cinematic universe movies, because those are completely different beasts.
I'd say I'd probably enjoy it more than Batman vs Superman.
I haven't. I've seen the director's cut of Batman vs Superman, and it was a lot better than what we got, but that's not really saying much.
Yeah. No, I feel like it was easier to watch. It's like you said, it's the type of movie you can put on in the background, and you can just kind of have fun, like listening to it and looking up every once in a while. Be like, oh, hey, he's giant and he's punching something, like. But
and was I alone with the plot of Lawrence Fishburne's character? Black Goliath. Like I thought that tying it into their past would have had. I feel like there's some dangling plot lines there.
I feel like they
moments of. Go ahead.
They missed a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's my review of the entire movie.
Yeah.
with as much talent as they had going into this movie, I don't know much about the screenwriter or the director. You said the director was the same guy that did the first one.
I'm pretty damn sure it was still Peyton Reed that came back. If I'm
well,
wrong,
the first one had what's his name, right? Edgar Wright, like at first, and then he walked away due to creative differences. But they kept some of his things, and I remember one of the things that they said they kept was the Michael Pena stuff, which I thought was maybe a little. I knew it was coming in this too.
Yeah,
but I thought that was to be the highlight. Kind of it's like taking a recycled joke and making it the highlight of the movie for me, or at least the funniest part of the movie for me. I thought that was maybe in part of lazy writing or something was missing. Absolutely.
And part of me feels bad for liking his character so much because it is like he's a pretty racist caricature.
You mean his portrayal of the character?
Yeah. Like someone told me that he was basing the character off of a friend of his, and that's fine and stuff. But the problem is that he's like the only Hispanic character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There, maybe some some antagonists.
Yeah.
But there's really no protagonist unless, I mean, I don't watch the shows. I don't watch Shield and stuff, and I know like
Isn't Robbie Reyes? I don't know. I haven't watched it either.
And I don't know the extent of his character, but as far as the movies go,
what? Okay, I had to stop because I just read Cleveland Brown's comment. Ant-Man and Wasp got a higher Rotten Tomato score than Infinity War, so it's better. I don't know about that. Sorry, I cut you off. That just kind of threw me off.
No, I was saying like as far as just movies, like the actual films go, not counting any of the Netflix or TV shows or any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can recall, he's the only like
portrayal of a Latin American character,
protagonist Hispanic character. I say that hesitantly because he's not really a protagonist. He's not an antagonist.
Well, I mean, I don't know about other people or you, but that never bothers me. It never bothered me in comic books. I mean, most of the characters I look up to are white. They don't have to look like me in order for me to relate to them. So, I mean, if they want to use a racial stereotype of a Hispanic character, sure, whatever. If it works for their comedy, it doesn't faze me. But I can understand some people being upset about that.
My only issue, because with the first movie, I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. And then they do it again, and it's been a couple years since the first movie, and nothing has changed. And I'm like, okay, so you're doing the same exact thing, and it's kind of like you said, recycled jokes and stuff, but you're recycling this racial stereotype of a joke. And to me, that's when it started bothering me, and that kind of stuff, it usually doesn't, but at that point, I was like, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And it just stinks because like there's nothing else to like, even in the comics, it's not like I can say like, oh well, hopefully they bring in this character and then we can have good representation of, Latin American, Hispanic, Latino character on screen, because most Hispanic characters in the Marvel universe are mutants, outside of like maybe a handful that I can think of, and none of them are really the A-lister characters.
No, I mean, I think the Living Lightning joked about that during the
No Surrender
run. Well, who now just only goes as Lightning, right?
Lightning.
And I thought that was funny because, yeah, I mean, but like I said, man, this is a completely different topic, but none of that stuff bothers me. I mean, I don't care. I don't have to have someone look like me on screen in order for me to, relate to them or look up to them. I never have. Maybe because I got used to it, or maybe I don't know. I mean, I relate to some of the women characters, or in Claremont's run, or for that matter, Carl Barks or Donald or Don Rosa's Uncle Scrooge, more than human characters sometimes.
Yeah, and I read a fuck ton of manga, and I relate to those.
Yeah, of course.
Asian characters all the time, and that's not an issue. And also,
But I understand the why people get frustrated with things like that. But I mean, that's why they made that statement, right? Like, for moving forward, they're going to have a lot more. What was it that they said? I think it was a tweet or something, right? Like, moving forward, they're going to have a lot more representations of different races and sexual orientation. I mean, and if you need that in your movies, that's awesome. That's great. But as long as they're telling a good story, I don't really care.
I just want that one thing to kind of be amended, for there to just at least be more Hispanic people in these movies, and that would make me a little happier. And I'm only half Hispanic, so I guess like I only can have half of an opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
But my half of my opinion is like, that would be nice. It's not going to affect my enjoyment of the movies unless they keep doing this kind of thing where they just he's a one-note character, and that's the end of it all.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to that side character, the sidekick character. So let's talk about spoilers. So
okay.
Mark the time if somebody wants to put it in the chat, just in case, so people know when we're going to talk about the spoilers part.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been, but spoilers now. It's 7:37.
I meant the time of That's okay. It's not gonna make any sense for anybody watching this tomorrow at 3:00 in the morning, going, "What the fuck is 7:37 mean?" Okay. I feel like they totally misused the character of um, Janet, right? And I feel like Michael Douglas was. I couldn't tell if he was acting or if he was genuinely angry the entire time. Like just the way he was screaming his lines, and I'm like, I don't know if he's frustrated with the script or the actors, because Michael Douglas is a damn good actor. I really, I enjoy his stuff, and it feels like maybe he didn't read the line. I don't know. And then making Janet kind of crazy and have like healing powers from the quantum realm. Um, I had a problem with that because I feel like, first of all, damn, she looks good to be in the quantum realm. How did she get all that makeup on by the time that he showed up in his ship? She's been there for what, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are little things like that.
I feel like they missed a lot of opportunity with they really didn't go into depth with anything in the quantum realm aside from like just showing shots of Hank going through and almost getting mauled by tardigrades and coming through and finding her, and then she shows up and she looks like a fucking badass. Like she's got like she looks like she's on the Fury Road, like with her mangled clothes and a big old like sword scepter thing. I don't know what she had, but she didn't use whatever fucking weapon she was carrying around.
No, she wasn't.
I was like, when I saw her walk up, I was like, oh shit! Like as they go back, are they gonna start like beating down like quantum baddies or something? Like what is she gonna do? What has she been using that for? So that was a missed opportunity to me, like just not utilizing her to her fullest. And by the end of the movie, it ends with the scene where they're like, before the credits and stuff, it ends with Hank and Janet like going off to the beach, and they're like, oh, it looks like they're gonna have a nice life. And so like, so she's not gonna fight and show us how big of a badass she is after spending 20, 30 years in the quantum realm. Like, are we not gonna see her? They're just gonna go and lay low now.
You know what? I was okay. So we know where this movie was going, right? Because we've seen
Yeah.
Infinity War. So, and it wasn't going in with expectations because, like I said, I wasn't that big of a fan of the first movie. Um, but part of me was hoping halfway through the movie, I wished half of the cast would have disappeared and the tone of the movie would have changed to something dark. Like, holy shit, we got to get to the quantum realm now because something fucked up is going on.
So like basically instead of the post-credit scene being,
Which was completely pointless, but like really, especially the very last one. I guess they were trying to be cute, but I was like, what?
I didn't even watch it. It was something with the ant drumming, right?
Yeah, he disappears too. I
But
think.
the mid-credit scene
Yes, with everybody
is,
else as he's stuck in the quantum realm, and
yeah.
he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Which I assume is how they're gonna tie it into Captain Marvel, which is what everybody has been saying, or at least everybody's theory about the MCU, and that's how they're gonna tie it in together. The whole time travel part of Avengers Forever, whatever the hell they're gonna end up calling it. I don't know. I still feel like this movie didn't serve a purpose at all. Like other than cashing in on the Marvel name, and then that reminds me of like comic books. I'm like, there's a lot of comic books that are like that, cashing in
Yeah.
on like the Infinity Wars right now, the countdown, crossovers and things like that. But then again, those don't cost millions of dollars to make. So
Right. I
this is a lot different. I figured they would be pickier. Like, how the hell did we have this and not a Black Widow movie? And that just got apparently announced again.
again
Right. How do we have an Ant-Man and Wasp that makes absolutely no sense to have and not have other
to
characters?
to play devil's advocate, I guess that you could say this movie answers two questions. Um, how do we get, or can we get Janet out of the quantum realm? And B, where was Ant-Man and crew during Infinity War? Those are the two, because we know from it was like a teaser image or whatever, that in the next Avengers movie, that Ant-Man is there with them, but Wasp is not there, so the rest of the gang's not there. So we knew that he was going to show up. So it was kind of just the like, well, what happened in between? But at the same time, you can say, well, Hawkeye was not in Infinity War, and he's going to be in Infinity Crusade or whatever the fuck they want to call it, and he looks like Ronin. They didn't make a movie for him, so they're probably just going to have him pop in and be like, my entire family was turned to dust. Thanos is going to get an arrow to the face. Like, some shit like that. Like, he doesn't have to have a whole 2-hour movie for us to understand what happened. You just have him tell us. And we could have had that same thing from Scott. And just being like, yeah, I got stuck here. And then they could have done like a little 5-minute scene of like what happened.
Yeah. And I feel like that, I wasn't kidding. Like, I feel like this could have been a 5-minute sketch. Like, where was Thor during Civil War? Do you remember that SNL sketch?
Yeah.
He was hanging out with some dude. Yeah, I feel like that's what this could have been, because that's what the entire movie felt like. Like, a couple of writers sitting together going, okay, we need to go from this point and end it where everybody's disappearing. Let's make a movie out of this. And that was like the plot. So you had to fill in all these little ridiculous things going on. Like, the bad guys were so lame.
Walton Goggins served no purpose at all.
And I love that guy. He's such a great actor.
I was so excited to see him in there, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. And then he fucking sucked. Like, he's literally just there to be this bumbling idiot, you know, Southern gentleman dude who fucks with them. And his big quote-unquote fight scene is basically just him being a coward and running away, and then Scott coming and like flicking him onto his butt, and that was it. And then his character is done. And now I don't know if this is kind of a departure, but I don't know if you've seen another one of the theories, people are saying that maybe he was working for Osborn, and that was going to be the way that they tie Osborn into the Marvel universe or the cinematic universe.
I was hoping they would reveal something. Maybe that's just because of the way that Marvel movies are shot, where the bad guy who he was reporting to was, revealed to be Apocalypse, or like you said, Norman Osborn.
Right.
Right now, I feel like the only way they can, like, a good theory for this movie is that the writers disappeared halfway through writing it, taken by the Infinity Gems. Man. But anyway, let me see what other things. I feel like Lawrence Fishburne's character switched sides way too quick.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, giant ants. Okay, sure, yeah, I'm good again. Like, what? I feel like he himself was reading the script going, okay, there's imaginary giant ants. What? And now I'm good again? Like, he's talking about, like, we don't kill people and stuff like that, but he's helping out this assassin. Like, I don't know, man. There's just so much, like...
Yeah, and I
don't get it.
Like I mentioned earlier, it's such a wasted opportunity to bring, because I was super pumped when I was like, Lawrence Fishburne is playing Bill Foster? That's awesome. And I was thinking we'd get, like, a flashback scene, kind of like in the first movie they showed Hank and Janet when they were younger as Ant-Man and Wasp. And I was thinking, oh, maybe they'll show us Bill Foster as Goliath.
Exactly. Like, how is this? That's what I was talking about when we were talking earlier. Like, I feel like there's a plot hole that was, like, not filled. Like, something happened. Like, did they have a threesome and now it's awkward? Like, give me something. And then it's like, oh, hey, Jan.
Yeah,
what are you doing here, Bill?
Missed opportunity. and it's my wife afterwards. She's like, man, why is Hank Pym just a giant piece of shit? Because, like, everyone fucking hates him. And I'm like, yeah. Like, and it's like everything that happens with in these two movies, it's like it goes down to Hank being a dick. It's like screwing other people over and stuff like that. And I feel like the whole thing with Ghost's dad being formerly working with Hank Pym, none of that needed to be a thing. Ghost didn't need to be in here. They should have just used, in my opinion, they should have had Bill Foster continue to be really disgruntled, and he should have been the antagonist, and kind of go along with the same as they did in the first movie, where they used another one of Hank's identities. They used Yellow Jacket as a villainous character, and so they would use Goliath here. I know Bill Foster, of course, was Goliath and was Black Goliath in the comics, but it has that kind of same thing where they used Yellow Jacket there. They could have used Goliath here, and maybe by the end of the movie something happens and he decides, he has a change of heart or something. But it would have been much more interesting had we had Bill Foster A, play a bigger role, and I think B, continue to just be like, Hank, you fucking suck, like, I'm taking you out. He could have turned giant, and then you would have had a giant man on Goliath fight. And then my head, they could have done that. That would have been the big set piece, like have it basically like Godzilla versus King Kong. And they would have been beating each other up, like tearing out buildings and smacking each other with them. Throwing.
I was expecting to see that, at least a flashback of like what went wrong, right? When they were talking about something happened, and I'm like, oh, cool, we're gonna get to see a giant man versus Black Goliath fight.
Yeah, and
nothing.
And then they could have, because we both said there wasn't enough like Wasp, there wasn't enough team up type stuff. They could have had Wasp while Scott is doing the brute force stuff. She shrinks down and does the whole like, I'm gonna go inside his head and like mess with his brain, and then she could have like messed some shit up, and then Black Goliath would have been knocked out. So it would have been a good like team up effort right there.
And once again, none of the characters teamed up long enough. Like the bad guys didn't post it. Even Ghost didn't post that much of a threat. That's why I didn't. You can't take bad if you don't have a menacing force behind things. Then your good guys are kind of pointless. They're just going on a mission to go and get Janet back, and there's a small chance she's not gonna make it, or they're not gonna make it. But by that point, I really didn't care whether they did or not.
And it really turned into this like weird like wacky races type like race for everyone to grab the thing, like who has the lab. And it's just like one of those gags where it's like one person has it, they're running with it, and then they trip and the other person grabs it and they're running with it and they fall and the other person grabs it. It's just that over, like there was no real climactic battle between villains and stuff. It was just Walton Goggins being a dumbass, Ghost
and
punching someone,
in kind of okay chase scenes. I will say the good things about the movie is I like the interaction of Agent Wu with Ant-Man. So
I really like Randall Park as an actor.
The actor, yeah, I remember him from a little skit, Broom Shakalaka, which was on Adult Swim, and then I think he's on. Isn't he on
Fresh Off the Boat?
Yeah, he's good. I like him, and I like him as Agent Wu. So maybe we might get an Agents of Atlas TV series spinoff or something.
I really liked him, and I liked what his character was there. And this is probably the fault of me reading that book as one of our review books last month.
Agents of Atlas.
I had never read Agents of Atlas before, but
it's so good.
It was really good, and Wu's really awesome character. And then I was like, this isn't Jimmy Woo. He's just low level.
No. He's not a he's not a secret spy.
Right.
We don't know. Maybe.
They could pop out and be like, actually.
Maybe that's his cousin. Did they ever reveal his first name?
I don't know. Yeah.
I think they just kept calling him Agent Wu. I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. But I like that. And once again, like I said, even though it's repetitive and lazy writing, I enjoy the Michael Pena narrative. Which there's a petition going on starting I saw it in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
Of having Michael Pena narrate the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe to catch people up to date. Which would be kind of fun to watch.
I was going to mention something else, but I don't know.
Was there things that you liked about it that stood out? Like I can't really think. Like for Thor 2, I can't really think of much that I liked. But for this, there were a couple of things like it had me laughing a few times.
I'm a big fan of Paul Rudd. I think he's a really good, funny actor. I've enjoyed like every movie he's in. He's got a good humor that I enjoy. So he's obviously going to be a positive there. Oh, can I say that one thing that pissed me off is that the fucking sports car was a Hyundai Veloster. Like, I'm sorry if anyone watching this is a fan of the Hyundai Veloster, but that car is a piece of shit. Like,
You wouldn't see that in Fast and the Furious 8.
no, like it. We have those cars at work, and nobody wants them. And be like, hey, you had a mid-size sedan. Here's your Hyundai Veloster. What the fuck is that? Like, that's literally. I had a yellow one. Was the most recent one, and they're like, I'm not driving that little fucking piece of cheese. Like, it's a horrible car.
Let me see. I like the chemistry between him and his daughter, Cassie. I thought it's cute.
Yeah.
Even though as a father, I'm like the very beginning scene when he's creating the little tunnels that lead into a giant cardboard slide. I was like, man, that's a lot of work for like maybe 30 seconds worth of fun. No way I would do that for my kids.
But I mean, he's been on house arrest, not doing jack shit for
right. Okay, so
year,
that makes more sense. Yeah, but no, I like the character interaction there, and I kind of like I cannot remember the actor's name that plays his ex-wife's new husband, but that dude's an awesome actor too. He was in Boardwalk Empire.
Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and he was in the show called Vinyl, but I really like him a lot. But I thought that was kind of funny. A lot of the characters were funny. And I think everybody
lessened his role in this one to just being like
the
really
huggy
happy
guy.
every time.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I'm so proud of you, and that's it.
Yeah.
The first movie, it was a little bit of a more interesting role because it's like, you're my ex-wife's new husband or whatever, and I don't want to like you, but you're so likable, and like he was genuinely like had a character in the first movie. In this one, he's just like, hey, it's Scott, I'm so proud of you for almost being off of house arrest. And then my only thought beyond that was like, oh no, he's gonna disappoint Bobby Cannavale's character if he doesn't get back home. Race against the clock. But yeah, I mean, there were most of what I liked about the movie was basically just the comedic aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was really annoyed with the whole like, oh, my suit's broken thing that they did, where he can't grow or shrink.
That was kind of funny when he goes to the school.
I was gonna say that was the.
That was like kind of a Deadpool joke, the whole baby legs and things like that. I laughed. I thought it was funny.
But beyond that one, because that's like it happens. And then that happens, and then beyond that, it keeps happening.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, I get it. Like, okay, just let him use his power, his stuff to do things. As a side note, you mentioned his daughter. I know that this is like rare chance that this actually happens, but I think it'd be cool if she got
her in Young Avengers.
Yeah, if they did a Young Avengers, she got to be Stature. That'd be pretty neat if they could. Like,
I'd be down with that.
Pull that through.
I like the little I don't know if it's much of an Easter egg, because I think any kid would be like, she wants to be a sidekick, and I'm like, oh, she does get to wear the suit for a while in the comics, and then Children's Crusade.
I actually like sat down with my wife yesterday, and I was like, hey, I know how that movie could have been better, and I like just told her the entire plot of like the fixed version of the movie. So I have this idea in my head of how it could have been a lot better, and it basically just hinges on the fact that I mentioned this earlier, but the main plot, the whole idea behind the plot, just them going into the quantum realm to rescue Janet, could have only been the first 30 minutes, or the first act of the whole movie. Mm-hmm. They didn't have to throw Walton Goggins in there. They didn't have to have wacky races stopping them from who's got the lab, who's gonna do whatever. Like, they didn't need for Ghost to be this random ass inserted character trying to get in their way. Like, they could have just been like, same opening of the movie and everything, and then they kidnap Scott, and they're like, we've been trying to get in there, and we think that you might be able to help us. And then they go in there and they rescue her, and then you get a whole 2 more acts of the movie with Janet back, and so you can see maybe her kick into action and stuff. And
you mean more of a Ant-Man and Wasp?
No.
No, I'm saying like what the title is, so we can have more of that.
No, I want Janet.
Just Janet.
I want to see Michelle Pfeiffer kicking some asses. Like, I want to see her in her Wasp costume kicking some asses. But yeah, no, actually, like having the team up, the whole thing that I said where, you know, Bill Foster could have been the primary villain, the actual villain for the movie, and have a giant man versus Goliath fight, and have Wasp go inside his ear and mess with his equilibrium to throw him off, and that's like my vision for what the movie could have been. And I like your idea of making it take a dark turn like halfway through or in the final act, and all of a sudden like half of the cast disappears.
I think that would have taken like, to me, that would have been so awesome. Like, and I wasn't even expecting. It was after the movie. I'm like, what they should have done,
right?
Kind of, because you see it kind of like in video games and stuff like that, where everything is happy, and then halfway through the movie or halfway through the video game, it takes a dark turn, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. But I should have.
Every Final Fantasy game,
exactly, or you know it's coming, but you know, doing it halfway through the middle, like as the plot, like as he's going to rescue her. They could have used Scott to rescue her, and then holy shit, everybody outside disappears. He gets, you know, the original Wasp back out, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then take it from there. I don't know, but that's a fanfic, so it doesn't matter. It's not canon. You know, this is canon.
Yeah, obviously it's already done. They made this movie. Here we are.
Have you seen every Marvel movie in the theater since they've been coming out since 2008?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I'm like, holy shit, I've gone to see every Marvel movie since Iron Man 1. And then I'm like, holy shit, I think I've seen every comic book movie since Iron Man or since X-Men 1. And then I'm like, no, I haven't. I've yet to see Fantastic Four 2 because I fell asleep in the first movie. I've never seen Ghost Rider 1 or 2.
I saw the first Ghost Rider, but I haven't seen the second one. And I didn't see the most recent Fantastic Four with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one either. But
I watched the first 15. I torrented the movie because I didn't want to pay for it, and I watched the first 15 minutes, and it started pissing me off, so I just turned it off. But yeah, I see most. I mean, I was gonna say I do see most of those movies in theaters, but I don't really watch all of the DC movies in theaters. The problem
I've seen them. I think I've seen them all so far, even Suicide Squad. I'm sorry, Oscar winner Suicide Squad.
I forgot about that shit.
Yeah, as well you should.
I was gonna say that it's not so much like any sort of me not wanting to go see them in the movie theater. It's more my wife not wanting to go because she's like, we already go to see all these fucking movies that you want to see, and we never see anything that I want to see. I'm not gonna watch something that's probably gonna be shit. So you take the line somewhere.
So you got to choose your battles and choose which movies to go see. So every Marvel movie. Maybe that's why your expectations were a little higher than most people's for ANTMAN and Wasp.
Those are the ones that she actually enjoys.
Oh, the Marvel. So as somebody that doesn't read the comics, what does she think? And you don't even have to read ANTMAN and Wasp comics. I mean, as someone that like, what does she think as a, I don't know, a Muggle, as somebody that's these characters are fresh?
She felt the same way as we did. I think she disliked it more than I did. It was weird because kind of funny because the first movie, my brother-in-law, every single time he has a chance, he's like, Ant-Man was absolute shit. Like, he's like, that was the worst movie ever. And we're always like, nah, because I told you she really loved that first one. I really liked it too. Mm-hmm. And we're like, nah, man, it was good, blah, 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 blah. And I'm always like, it's not as bad as Batman versus Superman. And he's like, you take that back. And it's like this common argument between us. And then we came out of, because we both watched it at the same time, just he was in Dallas and we were in Galveston. And she was texting him after the movie and she was like, this was not very good. And he was like, what? That one was so much better than the first one. It had much more action. It was way better of a movie. It wasn't as stupid as the other one. And we just spent the whole time driving back to my parents' beach house talking, like just deconstructing it, just like we did here. Like, this is what was wrong. This is what was wrong. This is what they could have done. This could have been cool. And it was just that for like the entire 30-minute trip back to the house. Like, it was, so yeah, she felt, as someone who's not into comics but is into comic book movies, she did not like this movie.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's it's always interesting to see how everybody else feels. Like my cousin, I went with my cousin and his wife and my brothers. And my brothers aren't big into comic books, but they both were like, "This might be the worst Marvel movie." My cousin absolutely loved it, though. He was like, "That shit was funny," and maybe that's, I don't know. Jess once said that I nitpick too much and I forget to have fun. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I should be more like my cousin and just say, "Fuck, that was funny." I have no idea what this movie was, what the idea of this movie was, but it was a funny movie.
Well, I'll say I laughed a lot.
Mhm.
If something's funny, it's funny, and I laughed a lot. But as far as the jokes landed, but as far as the plot of the film goes and what this movie did and what its purpose was, I think that it fell flat. So that's two different aspects of it. So it's, if I'm going into it because I want to watch Paul Rudd tell jokes and some slapstick humor,
Mhm.
then yeah, I got exactly what I was looking for. But the first Ant-Man movie had that, and in my opinion, it had a better plot. It had a more interesting villain. It had better set
I
pieces
you
and
know
better fights.
I will say the first one at least felt like it had heart. Maybe that's what was missing from this one. Like I feel like I just didn't care, and I feel like the actors probably didn't care. I somebody was commenting on how well Paul Rudd um did acting like Michelle Pfeiffer. I
That
can't
was
remember
pretty
where I read
funny.
that. While it was pretty funny, I'm like, yeah, I don't think like I think he was just acting like a girl. I don't think he was acting like he was channeling his inner Michelle Pfeiffer at all.
No, no, not at all. It was definitely not, because when she comes in, it's not like she is
Right,
that
like
person.
over feminine. Like it was just Paul
It
Rudd
was just
pretending to
him
be a
being
girl, which
the motherly type of person.
yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I did laugh when he was holding hands with Michael Douglas, though. I thought that was funny. Right before they go into the quantum. Um, so, so there were like you said, I think there were parts of the movie that were funny and the characters are likable, but it was just missing something. I don't know. And that's my review. I've said enough about that. The chat, however, feels like
Like we both
uh,
suck ass.
Thor 1 is the worst Marvel movie. Was it Cal L that said that? I said Thor 1 to me reminded me of Masters of the Universe with a budget, so that's why I liked it. Because I mentioned Thor 2 being probably the worst. And I think, yeah, Thor 2 is probably the worst Marvel movie that I've seen.
Well,
I still stand by that statement.
the cool thing about all these movies is, honestly, I haven't seen one of them where I'm like, this is just a fucking trash movie. Like every single Marvel movie, even if I'm like with this one, or for me, like Thor 2, or like I'm always like, at the very least, it's decent, in my opinion. Like there's not a single one where I'm like, God, I like this is just grating on me to even try to watch this movie. Like
Hmm.
I
Can
haven't.
you say the same about DC's movies?
No, because Batman versus Superman sucked the life out of me when I gave it my 2.5 to 3 hours, and
I
I
got.
horrible.
Oh, Biggie Cheese says Incredible Hulk is the worst. I kind of. I think Hulk is one of those movies that would be hard to pull off. That's why Thor Ragnarok works so well, because I think Thor's character works well as far as like the movie as a team up kind of movie, because it's hard to portray especially the deepness that is Peter David's run on Hulk. You can't do that on film. It's almost impossible. So what are you gonna do? You got to throw a rampage in the middle of it. So for what it was, I thought that was pretty cool. That fight scene with not Abomination, where he takes the two cars and starts hitting him with them. That was kind of cool.
But it
And that's
didn't have
Incredible
gamma
Hulk.
powered. Didn't have gamma powered
Dogs,
dogs.
yeah. Or who was Nick Nolte's character? Was it Absorbing Man at the end of that Ang Lee's movie? I think he was
Oh,
supposed to
it's
be
been so
Absorbing
long.
Man.
I don't even remember.
I've only seen that in the movie theater, and that's it.
Yeah, same
Incredible
here.
Hulk, I've seen a couple times. Yeah, I'm curious. What is everybody in the chat? What's everybody's least favorite Marvel movie?
I know my wife's is Thor Ragnarok.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Like she hated
she came
it.
out of there. Yeah. She literally, like, multiple times in the movie, she would just be sitting there and just turn to me, what the fuck is this movie? Like, she did not get it at all. She didn't, and I didn't think there was anything to get about that movie, but she didn't get it, whatever it was. She thought it was stupid. She didn't appreciate the humor. She, you know, thought that it was a dumb plot. Made no
Honestly,
sense.
I can kind of see that maybe because it feels so different than most of the other movies, right? You have this kind of eerie 80s music soundtrack, right? That, how do I describe this soundtrack? It's written by the guy that wrote a lot of Nicktoon. My wife pointed that out to me when we were watching the movie. She's like, "Oh my god, that guy wrote a lot of Nickelodeon cartoon music," and but he was able to channel what we call in the '80s. Um, I always remember the Dianetics commercial by Ron L. Hubbard, where it's this music of what we think the future is going to sound like. That's the music that they were able to capture in Thor Ragnarok. And to me, even now, is still kind of creepy. So I can kind of see that, throw that into that weird, New Zealand humor that some people don't like, which is drier than British humor. And on top of that, these weird, goofy characters that are supposed to be super heroic. I can kind of see why she didn't like it. I've never heard somebody say it's the worst one, though. It's pretty interesting.
I think that we did make a list, and she wound up saying that there was another movie that she liked less than that one, but usually she'll just say no, that one was like on a scale of like the 1 through, I guess it was like number 18 at the time that we made our ratings, because I think it was after Black Panther had come out.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, this is like number 1 million, like it's as far down. Yeah.
Like she never wants to see it again.
Yeah. And
my wife is on the opposite spectrum. She's seen it 3 times. She loves it.
We were at Target, and I bought Black Panther whenever it came out on Blu-ray. And usually I don't buy anything on Blu-ray until
how much you like
Black Friday.
Oh, right. But then you don't get the sleeve, Ryley. Are you a collector of sleeves like I am?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, God bless you then.
But
I'm a completist. I have to have that sleeve. And yeah, everybody knows if you don't buy within the first few months, those sleeves are gone. At least I'm not as bad as getting the steelbooks. The steelbooks could be a lot worse because people will lose limbs trying to get a fucking steelbook.
But anyway, what I was saying was I bought the Black Panther when it first came out, and my wife was asking me like, oh, why aren't you waiting until... No, she asked me, why don't you buy Thor Ragnarok? And like, why are you buying Black Panther when it first came out, not that one? I was like, well, I'm waiting for Black Friday on that one. Well, why aren't you waiting on Black Friday for this one? Like, you can get it for a lot cheaper. I'm like, because I know that when I bring it home tonight, we're going to watch this movie because you loved Black Panther. I'm not going to spend, $25 on Ragnarok when I'm going to bring it home. And if I put it on, you're going to be like, Ryley, turn that shit off. And I'm never going to get to watch it.
Oh man, yeah.
So yeah, you're lucky, man. I will never get to watch Thor Ragnarok.
It balances out, brother. My wife also hated Starman, which is at least in my top 3 favorite comic books of all time. Like, that's almost grounds for divorce in my house.
My wife's only read like 5 comics in her life.
In her life, what has she read?
She's read Preacher, Animal Man by Grant Morrison.
So she's read some good ones, man. Right off the bat, those are solid.
That's
not for everybody.
No, but she loved it though. She loved Animal Man. I want to say that she read Y the Last Man, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
She read the first volume of Fatale by Ed Brubaker, and then she read I think the
probably
first
one of his best works.
20 issues of Chew by John Layman and Rob Guillory.
Wow. Okay, so she likes independent comics, is what she's into. She doesn't, because there's not a lot to the characters, no history.
Right. Yeah, she told me, she was like...
Tolga says yes, he believes that she read Y the Last Man.
Okay, thank you for reminding me of that. she told me, she's like, yeah, I really don't like. I don't mind reading comics. Like, these are good books and stuff, but I don't want to read the superhero ones because there's too much history to those characters that I don't know and I don't understand, and I feel like I have to go back and read. The same thing that a lot of people say when they first start getting the superhero stuff. Like, do I have to go back and read Superman since 1939 or whatever to understand this issue in 2018? And I'm like, no, you don't. But she's the type of person that's like, I just feel like I have to.
Yeah, that's like 60 years of comic books you got to read to catch up. You
Yeah.
know what? If you're doing that, you're more dedicated than some of these writers. Than at least 70% of these writers that are going into it and just reading a Wikipedia entry. Whose story again? Okay,
definitely more dedicated than Brian Bendis.
Well, not just him. Damn it, I went through a whole episode without using that dude's name. But just thinking of characters like Captain Marvel or something like that. Sometimes I remember Brian Reed's take on Captain Marvel. I was like, I feel like this guy didn't read any Captain Marvel at all, but people really liked it. You know what I liked about it though was the art that they matched him up with. I'd buy that fucking omnibus on art alone because I'm a weak ass bitch. I'm bitching about the writing, but I'd buy the shit out of that omnibus because I love the art. I was looking through the chat to see what everybody's like. There's mentions of like Hulk again, Thor 2, Incredible Hulk. Somebody said Spider-Man Homecoming. Was that you, Clarknado? Spider-Man Homecoming is way worse than Norton's Hulk. I liked Spider-Man Homecoming. I want to say that's probably my top 5. I really, really like that movie.
I need to rewatch it, but I really enjoyed it, and I don't know.
And I shouldn't like it. Like, it's one of those movies that I don't know. Maybe I've seen it twice. Both time was with my daughter, so maybe it's like watching it through her eyes. That's why I really liked it.
I like Michael Keaton a lot, and
yeah, dude's an awesome actor.
Yeah,
dude's a great actor.
Obviously, growing up with him as Batman, and then I had just recently, before watching Spider-Man, watched Birdman, and then I go from Birdman.
What a solid flick! Yeah,
yeah, and I was like, man, Michael Keaton, and of course he's Mr. Mom. And Duplicity, so he's Multiplicity. Yeah, Beetlejuice. He's got the spectrum, man. He can be a hero, he can be a villain, he can be fucking Beetlejuice.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, everything. It's so
like that's why he didn't want to do Vulture. Was he had just finished Birdman, and he was like, that's kind of the same role, right? Like it's a superhero. And they're like, no, he's different enough. And I love his take on Vulture, or I love the character design on Vulture and everything else.
Well,
the founder was awesome. You're right, Cleveland Brown.
Let's start wrapping up. I've got 8% left on my tablet, and I hope people will let me know, because I know you said that the tablet seems to have a better camera quality. I hope people will let me know if it comes that way on the recording as well.
It looks like it does. Just get yourself a little headset adapter for those Apple things for USB, and you'll be set. You can just use that.
I completely forgot. I've got a lavalier mic that I can use. I just
okay, there you go. Yeah, you can use that. Might sound better than what you got.
The only problem is it doesn't have a headset. It's just the mic. So it might.
Then the speakers would come through. But yeah, I mean, you look better, I thought. Too much Iron Man in Homecoming. Spider-Man had no agency and was a victim of RDG-ification of the MCU that I hate. Oh, okay. I can see that. Thanks, Tolga.
All right. So anyway, before we wrap up, of course, want to mention our beautiful and wonderful sponsors, In Stock Trades discount comic book service, where you too can order your all your favorite books in very steep discounts from usually 42 to 45%, and on the first week of release you get a nice 50% discount on the bigger releases. Last week or the week before, the beginning of this month, you could get that sweet Grant Morrison Batman omnibus and the Avengers by Hickman Volume 2 for 50% off, 52% off if you had that rolling 2% loyalty discount for ordering something within the past 8 days or so. So a lot of little benefits to save you money at In Stock Trades. And of course, coming soon, just mention again, there is going to be a 4% Omnibros special discount. So you can get an extra 4% instead of 2% for about a week sometime coming up soon, and that is always an awesome thing. Just a single percentage, and everyone goes cuckoo. Of course, they package their books like they actually care, because they do, and they get them shipped out to you, and they come in perfect condition. If they don't, then they've got amazing customer service to take care of you in those rare events that something happens.
She's
so,
coming over in a few minutes.
What's up?
She's coming over in a few minutes.
Who's she?
The realtor.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I've got a realtor coming over in a few minutes, so I'm glad I'm wrapping up right now.
Biggie Cheese says, by the way, could we have an X-Men trivia showdown to see who knows more between the two of you? That would be a lot of fun. And actually, I'd love to have Peter on that too, because I know he is a fucking X-Man encyclopedia.
Yeah, and I would probably come out low on that one, because there's not a lot of trivia about modern age.
If it's modern age, I'm fucked. All these new mutants that are hanging out.
That's why I'm fucked, is because I've read everything from like 2000 and on, pretty much. But a lot of the stuff from like 08 and on, there's not going to be trivia for that, because it's too new. At least not with the Trivial Pursuit that we've been using, that Jess has. Unless we find something.
It's like a Trivial Pursuit from 2010, though.
So maybe there's an updated one that one of us can get. But I do like that idea. But anyway, gotta peace out. I'm gonna go play some more Guitar Hero, because I'm a really cool guy. And
all right, man. say hi to 2006 for me.
I know. I told you before we started the show, but I was playing Guitar Hero because I found my old guitar peripheral at my parents' house when I was visiting Houston for my birthday, and I brought it home, and my wife and I have been jamming, because it's blast from 10 years ago. It's pretty fun. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Omar for doing the video with me.
Of course.
For discussing how much we were disappointed in Ant-Man and Wasp with me. Maybe when Jess comes back from...
That's just our opinion. I'm sure Jess is gonna love it.
That's what I was gonna say. He's gonna come back.
He's the good in everything. I love that man.
It was great.
What's wrong with you two idiots? Yeah, I kind of expect that.
Oh man. Anyway, thanks again, and good night, everybody. Thanks for watching the show, and we will see you guys next time.
Good night, guys.
Oh no! How do I stop this thing?